Hello, my name is Kyle Mathews, and I am currently enrolled in the Entertainment Business Bachelor's Degree program at Full Sail University. My passion in the entertainment business falls primarily within the electronic music industry, but I have grown fond of live event production in general, so I have found myself working at many non-dance music events as well. One of my biggest inspirations in the EDM industry is Donnie Estonapple, aka Disco Donnie, as he was one of the founders of modern rave culture in the United States, and he's been instrumental in the expansion and development of the current industry. I have had the pleasure of working with Donnie personally since 2007, and he has been helpful in the development and support of my personal career as an EDM promoter also. This month, for my current art history class, I got the privilege to ask Donnie some industry-related questions, and in the next couple of minutes I would like to share some of his views as well as his answers. I began the interview by asking Mr. Estonapple to briefly describe his role in the entertainment business and how he got there. Donnie then went on to explain that he is the current CEO of Disco Donnie Presents, which is the production company that he founded in the early 90s, which he has continued to develop and mold into the mega business that it is today. He went on to talk about the glory days in the beginnings when he was throwing small events in New Orleans, and how it was almost by accident that he basically fell into this business and took his success to the level that he never dreamed of. He noted that it is still crazy for him to consider his first parties with 15 to 20 people to the major festivals that he now hosts with attendance numbers in the hundreds of thousands. Over the last 2 decades and through the expansion of his company, Donnie still maintains the original values that he founded for his company, and he values that highly to be part of the reason why he has been so successful. Donnie then went on to explain his most recent merger with Robert FX Sillerman, who owns SFX Entertainment. Donnie didn't go into great detail about the history of Mr. Sillerman, but through my own personal research, I know that he is essentially responsible for the creation of Live Nation. According to Donnie, it seems that Sillerman is up to the same tricks he used before when he acquired several rock stations, venues, and other industry-related businesses that were eventually sold to Clear Channel and developed into Live Nation. Now, Sillerman is investing billions into the electronic dance music industry, and his first acquisition was Disco Donnie Presents brand. Now it seems that Sillerman is looking to Disco Donnie to lead the new revolution of EDM-based events and festivals in the United States. And with an investor that has billion-dollar pockets, there is no telling just how big this thing's going to get. Because this interview was for my art history class, I then went on to ask Mr. Estonapple what he saw as the role of visual arts in his profession and society today. Donnie then continued by stating his amazement for the progression in visual art alongside EDM. He stated that the visual art aspect was far less present on the production level in the early days, but now the art installations and stage productions are just as big of an attraction as the main headliners that fill the festivals. EDMtunes.com reported that the production budget for EDC Las Vegas this year in 2013 was $35 million. This is quite a stretch from the early days of raving, where people went solely for the music and the vibe, but now a bar has been raised and it makes it nearly impossible for any independent promoters to keep up. Another aspect of visual art that Donnie touched on, which he said has been more consistent throughout his time as a promoter, are the creative outfits and costumes that people wear to these events. While early events saw a slightly different type of style or dress, it has always been an area that partygoers like to focus their artistic abilities. From plastic beads and tutus to banana costumes and carnival clowns, there is no doubt that there is a very artistically driven inspiration behind the attire that people wear to these shows. Donnie also mentioned that the same seem present with society, as we see major architectural buildings in Vegas and around the world that show the progression of man and our intelligence. Donnie made a good point that visual art and human knowledge seem to have expanded side by side, as you can compare cave paintings of early people to the massive art structures we now have as we are at our most knowledgeable time period yet. Moving the interview along, I asked Donnie to comment on new communications and media technologies and how the fact that they make imagery available almost instantly affects his industry. Here, Donnie chose to focus on the changes that have come in the way of promoting events due to new technologies. He mentioned that early parties were promoted with flyers and by word of mouth. Then the internet boom occurred and it became far easier to get the word out. Today, however, Donnie claims that there is such a massive amount of advertising for all kinds of products online that it turns people away from their online advertising simply because people are sick of being spammed. This has left a gap in area of change that Donnie claims to be focusing to find the best new ways of promoting events. With events hitting capacities of hundreds of thousands of people, however, I personally think that the word is getting out just fine. Again, Donnie reverted back to the dress and attire that partygoers have consistently worn at events over the years as a repeated yet evolving trend. I would have to say that sex is also a big sell for these events. Not to say that these parties are there to promote sex, but much of the attire that is now seen at these events is rather provocative. While I agree with Donnie that dress and attire have always been a major part of EDM events, there's an obvious difference in current and past dress trends. Continuing on, I was curious to know whom Donnie was inspired by artistically in the industry, so I asked who his favorite visual artist or style of art was. Guy Laliberte was his response, and I couldn't agree more with the proper selection for a very artistic individual in the industry. Laliberte is the founder of the Cirque du Soleil franchise, where he has created numerous themed shows that are circus and performance related, but also provide an amazing stage and costume designs that are amazing pieces of art. Donnie also mentioned one of the newest clubs in Las Vegas, Light Nightclub at Mandalay Bay, which is Laliberte's latest creation, where he provides a combination style of Cirque du Soleil performers alongside some of the world's leading DJs to create a unique and beautiful club experience every weekend in Las Vegas. I then went on to ask if knowledge of famous artworks have influenced Donnie's creative process and event production, to which he replied that they have all pulled much influence from various works of art and time periods. He mentioned Egyptian and Roman themed events, as well as carnival clowns and Alice in Wonderland spin-offs, as ideas that were inspired from already famous types of art. I would have to say that many of these large festivals that are being developed currently are also drawing inspiration off of each other as well. If not for sheer competition purposes, there is still a drive to be bigger and better in terms of production, and after EDC Vegas this year, it seems that Insomniac is still firmly in the lead. As we drew near the end of the interview, I asked a final question regarding the rapid expansion of the EDM industry and how well Donnie thought it would maintain, as many people have compared it to a bubble that will eventually burst when it gets too big. Donnie did agree that there is some room for concern as more companies like Live Nation move in simply to cash in on profits, but he is convinced that the EDM industry as a whole will continue to grow and push forward. The major difference, and perhaps the most discouraging thing I took from this interview, came from his statement that the biggest changes will be happening on the backside of business, as it will be far less easy for independent promoters to compete with the industry powerhouses. So after guys like Disco Donnie are gone, the industry will be led by people driven purely by profit, with little personal knowledge or connection to the actual product that they are selling. Either way, I think one thing is clear, and that is the fact that electronic dance music is absolutely massive right now. Perhaps it will peak and then burn out, but I feel that there will always be a place for EDM in the United States. The bar has been set, and now there is no turning back. Visual art is just as much a part of the EDM industry as the music itself now, and I'm anxious to see how the music and art continue to progress and merge as they create new playlands and atmospheres for dance music fans to enjoy. Donnie Estopinal is widely considered to be the godfather of rave culture in the United States, so I literally feel that there is no better person to voice their opinion about the industry over the last 2 decades. All that is really left now is to see the next big thing that Disco Donnie presents.